Across parts of Northern Ireland, some sunny spells for southwest Scotland, West Wales. Temperatures 6, 7, maybe 8 Celsius, but with that breeze, it's going to feel colder than that. And it's going to get colder still as we head into Sunday. Again, not too much frost overnight, though, because there'll be a lot of cloud around. Where we keep some clearer skies, temperatures could dip down to freezing. But say generally, we'll keep temperatures above freezing because there will be a lot of cloud into Sunday, but there will also be a lot of showers. On Sunday, particularly over northern England, southern Scotland and southern parts of Northern Ireland. A few showers likely in the south, but many places here just dry but fairly drab. That easterly wind will probably be strengthening through the weekend, so that's going to make it feel particularly cold on Sunday. Temperatures 5, 6, 7 degrees at best. Feeling, though, a lot colder with that wind. May get colder still next week.
I'm Mark Dolan. Join me at 11 on GB News for Headliners, in which I'll be joined by two of the UK's top comedians discussing tomorrow's papers. If it's an important story, we'll cover it, but we'll have some fun along the way. Headliners, the late-night paper review that won't send you to sleep like the others will. 7 nights a week at 11 p.m. on GB News.
Monday to Thursday nights on GB News. At 6, it's Deebs & Co. 7 o'clock, Farage. At 8, join Mark Stein. And at 9, Dan Wootton Tonight, followed by Headliners. On TV, radio and online. This is GB News.
Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Join me, Dan Wootton. I'll bring you the sharpest takes and hottest debates. Do you not believe in prisons?
I don't believe in prisons.
I'm completely stunned. I guarantee you there'll be no spin, no bias, no censorship.
I actually was personally quite offended by it.
And no reason to go to bed.
So I guess they've always been quite woke.
That's Dan Wootton Tonight on TV, radio and online. Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Lawrence Fox, on GB News. Frank, fun, fearless and sometimes serious. Much as I love a Friday night punch-up, what I really want is a battle of ideas. I want to look at things differently. I want to hear different voices and engage with your unique experiences. Every Friday at 7 p.m. on GB News.
Hello, I'm Esther McVeigh.
And I'm Philip Davis.
Whether you're watching or listening on TV, online or on radio, we handpick the latest stories, debates and expert opinions for your weekend. So whether that's politics, news or showbiz, we've got it covered.
Join us every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock on GB News.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. for Gloria Meets. In exclusive interviews, I'll be finding out who our politicians really are and what they really think.
It's something that you would never want anyone to suffer.
I didn't know what channels there were. I didn't think I'd be believed.
I must have weighed about 7 stone and I'm 5'8".
My instincts was to sort of cover this up. I mean, clearly that was a mistake.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello there, it's Eamon Holmes here from Breakfast on GB News. We're not just on your television and your screens, you know.
We're on DAB plus digital radio, so you can listen to your favourite shows on the move.
If you've not yet listened to GB News Radio, it's very simple. We're on your radio player and TuneIn apps, on your smart speaker, phone or tablet, or online at gbnews.uk.
Take us with you wherever you go. GB News Radio.
You never have to miss a moment of the People's Channel.
Good evening, I'm Alice Porter in the GB Newsroom. It's been confirmed that 6 young children in the UK have now died from a strep A infection. The UK Health Security Agency say they're investigating after a rise in rare invasive group A strep, with 5 deaths of under 10s in England since September. A child also died in Wales last week. Health officials say they've seen a slight rise in cases of strep A, which can cause scarlet fever, though deaths and serious complications from the infection are rare. Neonatal and critical care units are among a list of services that will be protected from strikes in the build-up to Christmas. The Royal College of Nursing has also announced that chemotherapy, dialysis and paediatric intensive care will not be impacted. Other services will be severely reduced. Members of the RCN in England, Wales and Northern Ireland are set to take industrial action on December the 15th and 20th. GB News understands that health officials are dealing with new cases of diphtheria at the Manston Migrant Processing Centre in Kent. The cases were discovered among the more than 2,000 Channel migrants who've arrived on small boats in recent days. GB News has obtained exclusive images from inside Manston, revealing some of the poor conditions migrants are living in. Official sources have told us they believe those testing positive for diphtheria contracted it while living rough in France. Sajid Javid has become the latest Conservative MP to announce he won't be standing at the next general election. The MP for Bromsgrove was Health Secretary until July of this year, when he stood in the Tory leadership campaign. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak says he's sad to see his good friend go, stepping back from politics. In a letter to Bromsgrove Conservative Association, Mr Javid said serving the government has been the privilege of his life. The RMT has held urgent talks with the government in a bid to halt strikes planned over the Christmas period. General Secretary Mick Lynch met Scotland's Transport Minister yesterday. The pair have urged Westminster to intervene in the Network Rail pay dispute. Transport Secretary Mark Harper said he wanted to work with the RMT and the employers in good faith to resolve issues. Mr Lynch said talks will continue over the weekend. TV, online and DAB+ radio, this is GB News. Now it's back to headliners.
Hello and welcome to Headliners. I'm your host, Andrew Doyle. Tonight I am joined by two fantastic comedians, Sajila Kershi and Nick Dixon. Let's take a quick look first at tomorrow's headlines before we dive straight into them. We're going to go with the Daily Mail first, and they are leading with lockdown linked to new surge in Strep A, with a big picture of Matt Hancock and his pandemic diaries, which are being serialised there as of today. The Daily Telegraph now alert after Strep A kills 6 children. We're going to go on to the I Weekend, which has UK Brexit regrets are growing. And then The Guardian. This is an exclusive, apparently. 500,000 homes are missing out on an energy bill help. And also warning as 6 children die of Strep A. That's a story that's coming up again and again. We're going to be talking about that in just one moment. The front of the FT leads with Russia gathers shadow fleet of oil tankers. And also Javid held talks with PIMCO as former Chancellor looks to life beyond politics. And then The Mirror now, tragedy of Strep A kids. That's that story again. We're going to go on to The Times, which leads with nurses will walk out of cancer and A&E wards. And The Daily Express leads with Harry warned, inflict more pain, and it's point of no return. This is, of course, in the wake of the trailer for the new Netflix documentary about Harry and Meghan. And finally, The Daily Star. We've got a problem with our chipolatas. And those were your front pages. OK, and we're going to kick off with Saturday's Daily Mail front page. Sajila, what have we got?
So, on the front page of the Daily Mail, hot of the press, is whether you're a fan or a foe, everyone who lived through COVID must read Matt Hancock's jaw-dropping pandemic diaries. And then underneath that, sadly, 6 children die from an infection in UK. Lockdown has been linked to a new surge in Strep A.
So before we go into Strep A, can I ask about this Matt Hancock thing? I mean, there he is, emblazoned on the top of the Daily Mail, big photograph. It does feel a little bit like he's capitalising, obviously, on his appearance in I'm a Celebrity.
He's behaving exactly like a person who's been on I'm a Celebrity.
Of course. Do you think he actually wrote these diaries during the pandemic, or has he sort of got a ghostwriter to sort of frantically run something off in time for Christmas? Because it does feel a bit, you know, but am I just being really cynical?
Yeah, it's a bit convenient, isn't it? I don't know. I mean, after not apologising, it's quite shocking, really, that, you know, he's bringing out the diaries, but he's refused to apologise. He's only apologised for the affair.
Well, people apparently like him now. I mean, he came third, didn't he, in the jungle? So
I think they felt sorry for him. But I only watched 2 episodes back to back with my friend when she was over for Susie Bennett, another comedian, and basically he was like Arnold Schwarzenegger in, you know, just walking through the water thing, just normal. He's got no emotions. It was like he was living with the humans to see how to behave and have human interaction and how to be like.
For someone who works out quite a lot, I'm sure he'll be quite flattered at the idea of being compared to Arnold Schwarzenegger. Nick, have you got any feelings negative or positive about Matt Hancock?
I have. I thought we were doing it later, but I'll happily address it now. He talked about an affaire de coeur, which is a French term. He was saying he had an affair of the heart. It's all very romantic, but it's like, that's not really what we do in England. You know, we're not romantic. It's more about duty, and as the late Queen said, Christian duty. So, and the thing is, he keeps asking for forgiveness, but he's asking for it, but he hasn't actually repented, to my knowledge. Really, he should focus more on the repentance, and then he'll naturally get the forgiveness.
OK, well, let's look. I mean, the Daily Mail also has on the front cover that the lockdown linked to this new surge in Strep A, and this story is dominating basically all of the front covers now. This is really a tragic story. There's been 6 young children died already.
I don't know about anybody else at home or you guys here, but I was literally seeing it flash up in all my timeline, Strep A, Strep A. So I was thinking, oh, I must look at that. And here it is, like the article tomorrow. Yeah. So 6 children have already died. They're blaming it onto the lockdown, like having constant lockdowns for children, but they don't sort of state. I didn't read that. Or did you see it? Did you see why they're blaming lockdown? I think it's because the immune system is like
it's lower childhood immunity due to repeated COVID lockdowns. It says it quite clearly there. So even the papers are admitting now lockdowns, you know, have all these terrible unintended costs, and this is one of them. So it's just another cost of lockdown. It's such an unnatural experiment to keep everyone at home. Of course, you don't pick up the same immunity, do you? You don't get exposed to the same amount of germs.
And obviously, you know, that's a point of view that might be shared, not shared. But one of the things you've got to look out for, guys, is obviously if you have got children of a certain age, is the symptoms, which are sore throat, fever, minor skin irritation. And they say that if it's caught, antibiotics will sort it out quite quickly. But there's 6 children, sadly, have already died.
Well, you're right, though, Sajida, to point out that people do need to be on the lookout, because quite clearly this is a manifestation of this disease which is fatal, and people need to look out for it anyway. We're going to go on now to the front page of Saturday's Guardian. What are they running with, Nick?
They've got 500,000 homes missing out on energy bill help. So obviously, there's the government's given this energy bill help. There's the question of how it's actually going to practically happen, and this is where it's going wrong. So people with prepayment meters have a big problem, and it says the 2 million people who are still on prepayment meters, which it says are the poorest people in the country, which is weird because my last flat had one. I'm like, I didn't realise I was amongst the poorest, but it doesn't surprise me. And then the other problem is vouchers. There's these vouchers, but people can't get them. They seem to go missing. They don't arrive. They call, and it takes hours on the phone. No one can find out what's happened to them.
Have they gone missing in the post or what? Like, loads of people just haven't claimed these things. And it's very weird because, you know, back in February when Rishi Sunak said he was going to support every household during the winter, weren't we all meant to get 400 quid?
Yeah,
or something like that.
Where's me 400 quid? But I have got some. However, they do make it difficult for you to claim, because if you're not like great on, if you're going to be like in that bracket where you're getting the vouchers and stuff, and you don't know how to like process them, it would be helpful to kind of explain perhaps how, or just remind people that they can get this, because I don't think everybody understands how they work.
Oh, is that what it is? So
because I missed out on something which now is going to go towards my council tax because I missed out. And I'm not dim, but I
suppose it is just, you know, this is a new system that's been implemented. They haven't done it before.
No.
Maybe they haven't successfully conveyed the correct information of how things are meant to be done. But it is going to be really hard this winter. We've always known it's going to be really hard, but you know, obviously people are really struggling.
My God, I can tell you, I couldn't believe how much I spent in 1 week. I had a friend over for a weekend, and like literally 4 days later, I'm like, oh my God, really? Have I spent this much? Like 60 quid?
So it's already noticeable
I'm already
in terms of the bills.
So I'm having to turn... I'm being a bit stingy. I don't like it too hot anyway. I like cool air. But I was thinking, I'm thinking about the elderly, I'm thinking about the disabled, how they're going to cope. It really is awful.
I've avoided it because I'm in a new build that are sort of naturally hot anyway. They've got the new spec. It's boiling hot. It's a small flat.
Probably not good in the summer.
And horrible in the summer. Yeah. It's locked at 38 degrees. Yeah. But in the winter, I just wear a fleece and just tough it out. But for a lot of people, it is really tough.
Yeah, absolutely horrible. We're going to move on now to the Eye. What have we got here? This is the front cover of the Eye, Sajila. What are they running with?
OK, so we've got the football, England versus Senegal, and on the other side, the main story is the UK Brexit regrets are growing. So this isn't really a surprise. People who voted Brexit are, you know, kind of like questioning where it went. I mean, because we were sold on an idea. Brexit was, you know, it was sold to individuals and what they thought was important to them, and they said it was going to hurt a little bit, but then it would be worth it. It hurt a lot. It's still hurting. I've had natural childbirth, and this is quite painful comparison.
But it depends, doesn't it, Sajida? I mean, do we really know? I mean, my feeling is we won't know whether Brexit was positive or negative economically until we're 10, 15 years down the line. We are now in the midst of a cost of living crisis, an international international recession. We can't just blame everything on Brexit, can we? It's predictable.
I think to
but...
not even acknowledge that it's partly Brexit's fault, I think is a folly. Like, I think I hear this a lot. Like, you can't blame it on Brexit. That's nothing to do with Brexit. We've had pandemic. We have. That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. We have
2 years of lockdown. Billions and billions of pounds.
It's do we not regret now, because we're in this situation, to be not having great relationships with the EU? It's not helping us right now, right down from migrants to even food like energy, all sorts of things.
Well, I don't agree, because I think the EU ultimately keeps proving that it is an authoritarian body. I mean, now it's trying to sort of push through draconian anti-free speech measures. I mean, I think principles like that are more important than extra money. But we can disagree. What do you think, Nick?
Yeah, as you say, they're now attacking Elon Musk, which is shocking.
Oh, they're saying they're going to ban Twitter.
Oh, it's pathetic. It's disgusting. But look, it's saying that 1 in 7 Leave voters say they'd now vote Remain. Well, I'm not sure where it doesn't say where this comes from. If it's YouGov, we have to question it. But so that's possibly true. But then it admits there's no majority to rejoin. And so I think if there was a real appetite for this, Keir Starmer would be saying it, but he's saying the opposite. So I think most people actually just want to move on. The one thing I do agree with, it says just 15% of Leave voters believe Brexit has a positive impact on migration. Well, yeah, clearly it hasn't solved any of our immigration problems, so that part is true.
I respect people's views on both sides of this, but I wonder, Sajeela, whether, is there really, as Nick says, is there really an appetite to go through another 6 months of debate about whether we should rejoin the EU and then have a vote, and then 3 years later things are going wrong and people are like, let's have another vote to get out again. This could be back and forth forever.
No, I mean, I cannot possibly go through what we went through to get to Brexit in the first place. However, I just think we do need to question that maybe there is a, they talk about hard Brexit, soft Brexit. Maybe there is a let's pull back, maybe not so Brexity. Like
you want a Swiss-style Brexit.
A Swiss-style Brexit.
Although Rishi Sunak has now ruled that out. It was weird, wasn't it? Because he said we're going to go for this Swiss-style arrangement with the EU. Then a few days later he said, oh, actually we're not going to do that. And Keir Starmer said we're absolutely not going to do that. So I honestly don't think that is going to happen, because that is a bit of a fudge, isn't it, ultimately? And I don't know if voters will tolerate it.
Swiss style would be full of, it's like Swiss style cheese, full of holes and stinks.
Nice cheese, though.
Nice cheese.
I think it's delicious. We're going to go onto the front page of the Daily Star. Of course, they're covering the important stuff.
Yeah,
Nick, as they always do. I mean, they're always on the pulse, aren't they?
They've gone with, we've got big problems with our chipolatas, pigs in blankets crisis to ruin December 25th.
I love they call it a crisis.
Yeah, it is a crisis. I wasn't totally aware, maybe because my dad's a chef, so I've been spoiled or something, but I wasn't aware that this was Christmas fare anyway, really.
What, pigs in blankets?
Yeah, we didn't really have it.
Oh, no, people
I've missed
are
out.
big on it.
I've missed out. But so that's the tragedy of that. And
that's your personal tragedy.
We've also got a 22% increase in the general Christmas dinner and the cost of it, which is no doubt due to inflation. And, on a side note, Andrew, which is barely related, but it's just vaguely interesting, did you see the other day that after following the revelation that Christians were a minority in the country, people were already saying we should rethink Christmas? So what I'm saying, Andrew, is... Yeah, do you not see that article? Oh, yeah, it's diversity champions say we need to rethink Christmas. Andrew, enjoy your chipolatas now, however expensive, because next year Christmas will be banned.
Well, I won't be enjoying them because I'm a vegetarian. I will be enjoying nut roast and parsnips, which I think is the more ethical.
Corn in duvets.
Maybe corn in duvets, that would work. What do you think about this, Sajeela? I mean, apparently every single item on the traditional Christmas menu is increasing at a higher rate than inflation. Not just turkey and cranberry sauce. We're talking even Brussels sprouts here.
Oh, my God, not the sprouts. They've come for the sprouts. Now I'm going to speak out.
Out of control, isn't it? It's out of
control. First they came for the chipolatas.
They came, and we said nothing.
I mean, I don't know. Are you? Does this bother you particularly? Okay. Can't people just find an alternative? Isn't this a good opportunity to think, well, let's think outside the box? Maybe it's not about turkey. Maybe it's not about chipolatas.
I think there's alternative birds that you can have.
There are?
I don't think it has to be turkey. I mean, we only ever eat it once a year.
Pigeons are underrepresented on the Christmas table. That's what I would say. I'm not so sure that they would want to sacrifice themselves to become the national dish at Christmas time, but why not? Why is it always turkeys? It's just someone decided years ago. There's nothing in the Bible about eating turkeys.
I don't even get turkey anymore because now people have said, oh, no, we should have beef or something. Instead, turkey's dry. So there's an anti-turkey movement. I'm on the pro-turkey side.
You're on the pro... OK.
I want it once a year and I want it on Christmas Day.
Yeah. Actually, most people I know don't even like turkey. They just feel obliged to eat it. Anyway, that's it for part one. After the break, more on Kanye West's descent into infamy, Alex Jones's descent into bankruptcy, and Nick Dixon tearing his hair out at society's descent into degeneracy. See you in 2 minutes.
We are GB News, and we'd like to say thank you to each and every one of you for bringing us your conversations, for helping our great nation find its voice, We are here for you on radio, television, and online. Across England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland.
It's not the BBC, you actually get your facts right.
We are proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Every Friday and Sunday night from 9, it's Mark Dolan Tonight.
We're on the same page again. There's something good happening.
Let Ian finish. Don't be such a cranky. That mini budget was the tip of the iceberg.
And on Saturday, my show just got bigger. From 8, it's Mark Dolan's Saturday Night In.
You can't govern a country if you can't speak.
Stop talking.
My God, we reached the end. I've never been early in my life. Only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Hello there, it's Eamon Holmes here from Breakfast on GB News. We're not just on your television and your screens, you know.
We're on DAB plus digital radio, so you can listen to your favourite shows on the move.
If you've not yet listened to GB News Radio, it's very simple. We're on your radio player and TuneIn apps, on your smart speaker, phone or tablet, or online at gbnews.uk.
Take us with you wherever you go. GB News Radio.
You never have to miss a moment of the People's Channel. Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Join me, Dan Wootton. I'll bring you the sharpest takes and hottest debates.
And it's about standards and public life. No, I'll tell you what's hypocrisy, Narinda.
I guarantee you there'll be no spin.
We believe in the UK.
No bias, no censorship.
It just doesn't make sense to me. He wasn't doing his job as Chancellor.
And no reason to go to bed.
So I guess they've always been quite woke.
That's Dan Wootton Tonight on TV, radio and online. Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. on GB News.
Welcome back to Headliners. I'm Andrew Doyle, and I'm joined tonight by two very reasonably priced comedians, Sajeela Kershi and Nick Dixon. We're going to jump straight back into it with Saturday's Telegraph now, and I'm afraid things have gone south for West. Can Ye justify this behaviour, Nick?
Wow. So this is Kanye West, now called Ye, of course. The Telegraph is dead naming him. Suspended from Twitter by Elon Musk for inciting violence, quote. Now, what he did was post a rather unfortunate post of a swastika inside a Star of David, as you do. So, I don't know if we have I thought we were going to show it then on screen.
We're
probably not going
to.
No, not a great thing to tweet. And he was suspended based on the idea that he was inciting violence. Now, although it's a distasteful thing, I do question how it's inciting violence. That's my question. And I suppose that depends.
It's certainly drawing a very unpleasant connection between Nazism and Judaism, which could be argued that... But surely, if you're going to have... I mean, Musk has said he's not going to have a complete free-for-all on Twitter. That there are going to be some...
Well, here's the problem with Musk's policy. I'm not sure whether this is inciting or not. So he's getting around it by saying it's inciting violence, thus it's covered by the First Amendment, which already makes caveats about fighting words and so on. So if you think it is inciting violence, that's the question, though. But Musk is doing a little bit of a fudge because... He's talked today about how Twitter's going to be good for the 80% in the middle. Yeah. And he's going to get rid of the far left and the far right. In practice, it's not actually true because all the far left are still on there, whereas Stefan Molyneux, Milo, Laura Loomer, Alex Jones are all off. So it's actually not an equal playing field. What Musk is doing, in lieu of an actual policy, even though I much prefer him to the previous dictatorship, because it's a relatively benign one, he's actually just going by the seat of his pants.
Doesn't this just show that it's a really difficult job for whoever's going to take over Twitter and try and implement any kind of moderation policies, they're always going to be struggling with this. It's going to be really hard because for every Kanye that you can point at, I mean, I suppose he's thinking he's personally invested a bit because Elon has supported Kanye in the past.
Yeah, they're mates.
So now
they're texting each other about
it's a bit tricky. But, ultimately, this is why I'm sort of the view that Twitter just shouldn't censor at all and we can just, as users, block all the people that we find objectionable. Would that not be the solution?
You spend all day blocking people.
I do.
Is that what
because I find a lot of people objectionable.
He gets a lot of idiots.
You could write another book with all the time you spend blocking, so maybe we need someone to do it for us.
No, I think it has to be the user's experience. But look, I do accept illegal, criminal activity, child pornography, images of violence, terrorism. Yes, of course they have to be. They're already illegal. But really distasteful, unpleasant, offensive things, racist things, I just block those.
Yeah, I mean, going back to Kanye... this was on. He was on Alex Jones's podcast, which obviously we're going to talk about later. So it's not exactly. He's not mixing with the right people, in my opinion, because obviously we're all going to be thinking differently. And also, what he posted was offensive to Jewish people, and I think that's what you've got to look at. It's like Jewish people are going to be offended by this. This is not cool. That is inciting, like, it's upsetting
And when's it going to win?
A group of people. But also, he is a sick individual. He's not well.
He's not well, right.
He's not well, and I think we have to take that on board. Like, he's on the same par as those who say they've heard voices and killed children, you know, and Jesus has been telling him to do, Muhammad's been telling him to do, Buddha's been telling him to do whatever.
Come on, Nick.
Well, I want to raise something. One, I question the not well thing. He obviously went on Alex Jones and said a slew of insanely offensive things. One thing I thought was interesting, see what you think to this. He went on Alex Jones and said he liked Hitler, which is obviously mad, but InfoWars is a kind of a wacky show. Don't you think it's interesting that Diane Abbott went on BBC One and said that Mao did more good than harm? Isn't that kind of an equally extreme statement on an even more mainstream?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that in any way justifies Kanye West, but I think what that does do is it suggests that we, for some reason, we have overlooked the horrors of Stalinism and Maoism in the past, which are surely on a par with fascism and Nazism.
Well, in death toll alone, Diane Abbott's gone bigger there. And also, as bizarre as it was, he said, well, Hitler's done some good things, whereas Abbott said Mao's done more harm than good. So she went even further. So she's actually far more extreme a figure.
And I think that debate is worth having. But when it comes to Kanye, I just think, when will this stop? He's saying these really horrible things, supporting Hitler, or suggesting at least that he liked him and all the rest of it. Now he's tweeting this horrible image of a swastika and Star David. You know, and this suggests an escalation. Maybe Elon Musk is just thinking, look, where's he going to go next? Because this is just getting out of control.
It could be like acting as a friend and thinking this is some kind of sort of intervention, and maybe a group of Kanye's friends can do that, have an intervention for him.
Well, from one raving lunatic to the next, Alex Jones goes bust. In The Guardian. What's this all about?
OK, so Alex Jones files for bankruptcy after billion-dollar Sandy Hook court ruling. Just to sort of recap, the Sandy Hook school, there was a massacre back in 2012, December 14, 28 people died.
Yeah.
And Alex Jones basically, you know, his conspiracy theories he spread, saying that it was all a hoax.
He said it was a government sort of...
Yeah, it was a
front. It was just orchestrated.
For something else, and it wasn't
with
true.
actors. I think he said actors.
Yeah, and you know, as a result of that, I mean, the story does go on to sort of say how it's affected individuals. You know, somebody had somebody had someone wee on their son's grave, which is horrific. And you know, one of the teachers was basically told that they were going to be raped. It was, I mean, it's just horrific the fallout from what he did. He's been fined.
But he was fined for defamation, wasn't he? Right.
Yeah.
And of course, did he specifically target particular individuals and parents and all the rest of it, or is this a more broad sense in which he created the conditions within which these unpleasant things occurred? Nick, you were following this, weren't you?
Yeah, it's that one. He just got carried away. He started talking about... He had all these conspiracy theories. He got carried away. He thought Sandy Hook didn't happen. He started mouthing off about it. And obviously mad people will do things like that off the back of it, which is very unfortunate. He has apologised many, many times. And this case is meant to destroy him. I mean, we're talking about $1 billion. At one point, they were talking about 2.3 trillion or something crazy. The idea is to completely destroy him because he's a political opponent. That's what I've always thought it is. Even though, you know, he's apologised multiple times. It was a terrible thing to say. But I've always thought this case was about taking out a political enemy, and I still do, to be honest. We saw on the Ye programme, Alex Jones came across relatively as a moderate, nice guy.
Well, that's one thing about Kanye West. He is making Alex Jones look sane. I mean, it's incredible. Next in the Times, the mermaids are back and something smells fishy.
Nice, yeah. Formal inquiry launched into transgender charity Mermaids. The Charity Commission has launched a statutory inquiry, which is a much more serious type than the previous one, and because of newly identified issues, perhaps like mermaids are pure evil, maybe, and about governance and management. So, yes, it's good that there's an investigation into mermaids happening now. I don't know why. I mean, my hope is that they just completely shut down. I mean, this is kind of what they're doing. They're sending like chest-flattening devices to 14-year-olds wishing to transition and try not to tell their parents. I mean, this is the kind of organisation we're talking about.
I mean, there are all sorts of reasons why an investigation into mermaids is long overdue. I mean, not least because, I mean, it used to be quite sane, mermaids. It used to, like, if you go back...
to believe that.
But if you go back sort of 10 years ago, they were sort of saying to parents, look, most children who are experiencing this gender dysphoria, they will grow out of it through puberty. Calm down. It's going to be OK. When Susie Green came in, this woman who took a child to Thailand to have the genitals removed, it suddenly shifted that you have to affirm every indication that a young person says, I'm in the wrong body. Just affirm it, put them on drugs. Sterilisation, medicalisation of kids, absolute scandal.
How is this not child abuse? OK, so obviously they've offered breast binders to children against their parents' wishes. A breast binder...
Yeah, which is really dangerous.
We would now not let a 14-year-old wear a corset to, make their waist smaller, or foot binders to make their feet smaller. We wouldn't allow them to do that. So how have you allowed young girls of 14 years old chest binders without even consulting the parents?
So controversial. And yet, what I don't understand about this is that there was no scrutiny, there was no criticism. You had major companies like Starbucks sponsoring mermaids, columnists at The Guardian cheering them on, and all the while...
Prince Harry, they've been involved.
Prince Harry, Emma Watson.
Yeah.
This is... And I'm sure in 10, 15 years' time, those people are going to look back and think, what on earth were we doing?
They're going to look more mad than Kanye West. It's completely insane what's been happening.
Is he the measure now?
Yeah, that's the measure.
They're going to look much... It's like you say, it's child abuse, completely sick. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, OK, we're going to move on now to slavery reparations in the Telegraph. Sajeela, this is an interesting story.
Oh, yeah, this is an interesting story. So California slave descendants could receive up to $200,000 in compensation. And it's the first state that's ever to pass a law which compensates for the slavery, and also I can never say that word. Reparations. Because it wasn't just slavery, but coming down from slavery.
Yeah, but
just in areas where
the figures, Sajeela, they're saying that each descendant should receive more than $200,000. That's an incredible amount. Isn't that going to cripple the economy?
Yeah, I mean, it's the so-called Blight Law from 1945 paved the way for officials to seize property, destroy black communities, closing hundreds of businesses and displacing thousands of families.
Which is all true.
So it is all true, and they have had a lot of... Because they've been poorer areas, they don't have the infrastructure that is available to, their white counterparts, and there has been horrific crimes committed against black people. So I think this is actually... a small drop in the ocean compared to...
But what I would say, Sajeela, is that's absolutely right. And I think the implications of redlining and the way that you had segregated housing back in the mid-20th century has meant that black people living in those areas today are materially poorer than what they would have been. So there is a case there. But isn't there an issue that when you start down the road of reparations, where on earth do you end? Do I get reparations for my family being massacred in Drogheda? What happens? Where does it stop?
You do, but only because we're mates. Basically, you're right. Where does it stop? Because everyone's been enslaved at some point or another. Of course, one sympathises. You've come to America and under these horrible conditions. Of course, it's been a big disadvantage, absolutely. And it's good for the Democrats to acknowledge that they are the party of slavery. They're the ones that imposed Jim Crow laws. They're the ones that were the Ku Klux Klan. So it's good to get that out there as well. But... the obvious problem, as you say, is well, one, how will it be managed, and how will you afford it? California's already a mess with these huge homeless encampments and stuff, and more people will just move away, presumably, if it's going to come from tax. They'll move to Texas again.
It's unquantifiable, isn't it, Sajeela? Once you start to... how do you calculate who is owed what? How far back do you go?
I agree. There's a problem. How do you calculate? However, there has to be something done to compensate for because the trauma is still carried through thousands of generations down. It's going to carry on through, just like India-Pakistan partition. That stays with you. And for someone who's not been through that, they cannot speak for those people and say, well, you're talking crap because it's all over now.
Could you not say that for everyone? I mean, everyone has ancestors that have been oppressed.
Yeah, but this is the argument that I'm hearing quite a lot recently. It's like everyone's gone through something. Everyone's gone through something. Well, if these people are saying they've gone through something, then maybe that we should listen to them and find out what it is that they actually want. Maybe they just want better housing. Maybe they just want better. Maybe the $200,000 each, huh?
I just said they want 200 grand.
They don't want to. That's what they've offered. That's what they've offered. So that's like some that they've come up with themselves.
Yeah.
And hey, it's in America, it's not our politics.
We've got to move on now. That's part 2 over and done with. Join us after the break for robots, holiday sex, and some controversial ideas of biblical distortions. See you in a minute.
Monday to Thursday nights on GB News. At 6, it's Deebs & Co. 7 o'clock, Farage. At 8, join Mark Stein. And at 9, Dan Wootton Tonight, followed by Headliners. On TV, radio and online. This is GB News.
We are GB News, the People's Channel.
Why not take us home with you by visiting the GB News shop at gbnews.store? You'll find all the official merchandise, a really good present actually for yourself, your friends or your family.
We ship across the UK mainland at no extra cost. GB News, the People's Channel.
Hello, I'm Esther McVeigh.
And I'm Philip Davis.
Whether you're watching or listening on TV, online or on radio, we handpick the latest stories, debates and expert opinions for your weekend. So whether that's politics, news or showbiz, we've got it covered.
Join us every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock on GB News.
Monday to Thursday on GB News, it's Bev Turner Today from 10 a.m. We're going to be here for you, our GB News family, to keep you up to date, but also make you smile.
The guy went from puberty to adultery.
And I can't wait to bring a few of my own opinions.
I have no time for cultural totalitarianism.
We'll engage in passionate, but always polite debate, with your thoughts and opinions at the centre of it all. Monday to Thursday, 10 till 12, on TV, on radio and online.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
Welcome back to Headliners, your first look through the next day's papers. We're going to jump back into it with Saturday's Independent now. This is a scandalous Balenciaga creative who says they need to learn not to put children and hardcore BDSM in the same photos. I mean, who knew?
Well, oh my gosh, I didn't realise that was a lesson we all needed to learn. I thought we kind of knew that was... I mean, the headline is Balenciaga creative director Dominic issues apology amid campaign ad scandal. And he says, I need to learn from this.
Weren't they blaming the photographer at first? I mean, actually, we should probably clarify for people watching who don't know. Balenciaga, a fashion company who issued photographs, advertising photographs, with children holding teddy bears in bondage gear.
Yeah.
And, I mean, also there was a photograph which featured a document, which if you zoomed in was a sort of a pro-paedophilia document.
Yep.
This is dodgy stuff. And then Balenciaga were blaming the photographer, saying they were going to sue the photographer. But the photographer was saying, well, there's no way I would have done this without the go-ahead from Balenciaga.
Yeah.
And now this creative director is saying, no, we need to learn. Well, yeah, damn right you need to learn.
Well, why did you not know that lesson already? I mean, even, like, 15, 16-year-olds will know this. Surely we don't need to learn this. But anyway, he basically, he went out, he's so upset about this and he's so sorry that he issued an apology on Instagram. When he took to Instagram, people used to take to their beds with a fit of the vapours. When did we start taking to Instagram?
Instagram's the way now. Nick, are you on Instagram? Would you...
Sort of.
Would you use it as a conduit for apologies?
Yeah, but look, I wouldn't be doing anything like this. That's the thing. True. I mean, this guy is so... In a way, it's ironic because he's saying, I need to learn from this and listen, which is normally what people say when they're cancelled by woke people. Yeah. And normally it's nonsense. But in this case, he really does need to... But he should also know it already, as we've said. It's absolutely insane. No one should be using Balenciaga. Kim Kardashian's done this pathetic half apology where she's like, I want to see how it goes because she doesn't want to lose money.
She's making quite a lot of money out of them, right?
She needs to drop it. This guy's saying it was the wrong artistic choice. No, it was disgusting. He also, just before this, apparently had said, I don't have to convince anybody or explain things anymore. So perhaps he got a bit arrogant as well as being a bit sick and thought this was OK.
And I haven't seen anyone who is behind Balenciaga on this one. Like, I think left and right are pretty unanimous about this. This is
I don't know how this was even allowed to happen. Bizarre. And the fact that he said he no longer has to explain to the fashion industry what he's doing. I wonder if that's what they did. They gave him carte blanche, and then he this is my like a joke. If you need to explain it, then it's not really hit the mark.
Absolutely crazy. Saturday's Telegraph now, a theological revelation. It all seems a bit du jour. Nick, what's this?
This is the fascinating history of Jesus' trans body, so-called. That's not me saying that. That's the Telegraph headline. So it's sort of going after that recent controversy about this guy, Joshua Heath. He did this bizarre seminar claiming that his body, Jesus' body, was a trans body. They're going through all this sort of artwork through history that's either been artists putting in little heretical, perverted things or critics reading it into it because there's some bizarre claims. But by the way, even before this Heath guy made this claim, there was a guy just a few months earlier from Bloomsbury Baptist Church called Simon Woodman, and he claimed that Jesus, because he says that he'll gather up Jerusalem like a mother gathering her hens, that means Jesus transgenders himself on many occasions in the Bible. And he also cited the fact that he washed feet as something that's normally a woman's role. So that means he's transgendering himself. Just insane,
are you suggesting, Nick, that there is something quite reactionary and conservative about the trans lobby's view of gender stereotypes?
I am in that second example, but I'm also suggesting that it's a disgusting attack on Christianity from these weird woke saboteurs within it.
Sajida, isn't it just a bit boring? You know, it's so obvious that they were going to do this kind of thing, but why do it at a evensong service in a church?
Yeah, that's probably not the right audience or not right place. I mean, obviously, you can interpret art, any of those artistic depictions. You know, years later, you can you can interpret it in any way. Sure, but we put our gaze on it from today backwards. That's fine. But not when it comes to faith. I think because it's going to offend a lot of people. There was a time when they were saying that Jesus is black. I'm more likely to believe that because of the area that he grew up in, that he might be black. There's some people offended by that. That you can call racism. I wonder if they're saying that he's trans now, so that if you turn around and say, no, he's not, saying, well, then you're being transphobic. Do you see what I mean?
They're trying to be deliberately provocative.
And that's fine. I don't have a problem with people interpreting religious figures, even in a sacrilegious, blasphemous way. We don't have blasphemy laws, that's fine. My point is that this is quite a banal, boring, trendy interpretation that I think is boring anyway, but also to do it in a church is an odd approach.
What I've started to realise is there's something to be said for not letting people draw your prophet. That's what I'm starting to realise. Because all this comes from drawings of it, so I'm thinking that through now.
Really? Well, we should move on now.
It.
Telegraph now. Robots taking over, Sajila? What on earth?
Oh, my God. So...
You know how I feel about this.
I know. Me too. Right. Do not give machines the power. We are the masters of the machines. The machines are not our masters. So Cambridge robots ask humans for help in crossing the road. So just to give you some context, these four-wheel delivery robots that are being used by a food company. Is that right? Yeah, food company. Just get my glasses on. So vanity. They basically, as they were delivering, they go to the traffic lights and they've been asking humans for help.
That's one.
What do you know? Robots still need us. They still need us.
Yeah.
They're delivering shopping to residents without the expense of the usual courier, but they're coming across problems. And the people have said that they've seen them,
But they're asking for help.
Yeah, they're asking for help.
They're effectively they're sentient beings.
Yes.
Like in that film Short Circuit.
That is actually quite scary.
I think it's terrifying.
Yeah, they're asking for help. They're a bit useless, aren't they? You saw it looks kind of like R2-D2, but it can't.
There it is.
Yeah, but it asks you for help and can't even cross the road. Basically, they keep trying to cross the road, then they go back. What it is, Jordan Peterson's talked about this, object perception turns out to be much more complicated than one thinks, because it's to do with how we perceive the utility of that object. We say it's a chair because we think it is a chair and it can be used as such, whereas a machine can't necessarily figure that out.
Yeah, but how far is it from a robot asking for directions to a robot annihilating the human race?
OK.
Oh, it's about 10 weeks.
No, hang on. In some cases, robots introduced into the city in recent weeks have been seen swerving to one side to avoid growling dogs and tiny... Yeah, because that means that if they can feel like, oh, my God, the dog's going to attack them, it's not long before they're going to attack us.
No, because they're going to work out, let's attack the dogs before the dogs attack us.
Let's gang up in packs.
This is scary stuff. Anyway, we're going to stick with the Telegraph now. Matt Hancock claims he's only human. Nick, is that accurate?
I think that technically is true. Yeah, he's defended his COVID decisions, insisting he's only human. As I said earlier, he cites an affaire de coeur, saying he's saying it was romantic, he was in love, which he's used this argument before.
This is his lover, right? That he basically broke lockdown lockdown rules that he set.
But he stands up, he says everything, his pandemic record there's a good, honest explanation for every decision, which we can obviously highly question. And from the start, it's been this weird thing where I remember initially people were saying, we don't like that he broke the guidance, but we're fine with the affair part. Yeah. But I was fine with neither part, whereas he keeps saying, he even explicitly says, I want forgiveness for the mistake I made, the failure of leadership at the end of the pandemic when I fell in love with Gina and broke the guidance. There's this really weird thing of he keeps asking for forgiveness, but I don't believe, as I said earlier, that he's actually shown genuine repentance, because
Is he as bad as all that, Nick? I mean, there's a lot of demonisation of him, and he is human. He did fall in love, and it does feel a bit like, can we just give the guy a break at some point?
Can I say, my friend Sean was on the Jungle show, and he got treated so badly for just kissing a dancer on that show where everyone kisses a dancer, and so many people cheat on that show that it's called a curse, and he wasn't even married, she was. He was treated so horrifically. So Hancock, what he did was a lot worse, and he's been treated probably roughly the same. So I'm not sure. Look, I'm not saying we have to demonise him forever. I'm just saying that the way you get forgiveness is not just repeatedly saying, I want forgiveness. It's by actually showing, traditionally, it's by showing some sort of repentance, and then people will naturally forgive.
Gina, well, you know what? Forgiveness, maybe not take the 400k that you got on that programme.
Is that what he got for the programme?
I think it was 400k, and he said he's giving some of it to charity. We don't know, he might only be giving a tenner. How about giving all of it to charity? You went on there for the money. What was it for? Oh, probably to pay your very lengthy divorce proceedings, but you didn't want to say sorry for any of the things that you did that actually affected thousands of other people.
Well,
so, no, I don't have any sympathy.
Sajila, maybe if he's watching, he'll give that 400,000.
Yeah, you do that,
we
Matt.
See. Saturday's Daily Star now, and sex outside marriage is banned on holiday. Surely there's a better way to stop people using so many hotel towels.
So basically, this is in Indonesia. A sex outside marriage is banned in holiday hotspot, and will also this is the stinger, applied to tourists.
Wow.
So we used
Good luck with that.
Yeah, we used to, like, majority Muslim countries sort of like making rules for their own people there. Over there, if you do have an affair outside of wedlock, have sex outside of wedlock, you are flogged. In fact, there was a couple
tough for Matt Hancock. Sorry. I was just saying it'd be tough for Matt Hancock.
Yeah, Matt Hancock, you're lucky you're not here. We could have sent you in the jungle in Indonesia.
Yeah.
So basically, these new laws are going to affect the industry, the tourism industry, because guys, just cancel your swinging parties. If you're going to go to Indonesia,
what do you think about
there.
that in terms of principle? Because, every country has its own cultures, its own laws.
Yeah.
And isn't there a sense of decorum in this that actually, if you go and visit another country, you probably should abide by the laws of that country? Is that not fair enough?
Yeah, I agree. And I think that, especially when it came to Qatar, we were a bit hypocritical because we criticised them, but we don't criticising everybody else. But, different countries have different laws. That's fine. That's their country. However, you can't impose it. You can't, especially a sex... You can't have a no-sex thing.
Well, I mean, surely like on holiday, Nick.
Not many people are married when they go on holiday.
Sex outside marriage. I mean, that's why people go on holiday, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I'm against it, Andrew. What it is, I'm against the sort of brutal floggings, obviously, right?
Right.
Because I've read up on some of it, and some of it's pretty nasty, as you'd expect with brutal floggings. But the actual idea of a no sex before marriage law, I actually think is reasonable. What I prefer a kind of societal norm like we used to have not that long ago, where it was generally frowned upon, because we had a Christian society where that was frowned upon. That would be my preference. But in lieu of that, a law, I'd say, is not a bad second best, as long as it's not...
Well, you think a law that you can only have sex in wedlock?
Yes, but not with
because you're
flogging.
saving yourself.
No, I think it leads to better societies. I think our society now is proving what happens if everyone's allowed to just do what they want. And it's basically completely degenerate. Have you not noticed?
Goodness me, getting more and more conservative as the years go by.
A balanced tape.
Next in the Telegraph, free speech at universities is at risk, but it has been like this for quite a while, hasn't it, Nick? This is the education, the bill, the freedom of speech bill is now being weakened by the Tories, and Arif Ahmed at Gonville Keyes College in Cambridge, he's saying this is a problem.
Yeah, well, you've basically done the whole story. Yeah, the bill's been weakened. Arif Ahmed, who had this, he did an event with Helen Joyce, and all the students freaked out because they're morons, and other people, some of the actual college professor-type people freaked out as well. A college master freaked out. So he's saying, yeah, the problem with this is it's weakened, and that it leads to a kind of... There's a complaints procedure which will take ages and you have to appeal, but really it needs to be the norm. It needs to be enforced as a norm. Some people might think there's a paradox enforcing free speech, but not really, because that's what we do. Michael Knowles talked about it in his book. We have something called speech standards. Our conception of free speech is really a speech standard. So we need to impose it. Otherwise, all chaos, otherwise free speech falls away.
Well, they're also saying that, basically people are going to have to exhaust every other avenue before they have recourse to the law.
It should be the default rather than something you have to appeal for.
I mean, Sajida, there is a real problem here. I mean, I gave a talk at that same college, Gonville Keyes College, the week after Helen Joyce was there. Luckily, I was talking about John Milton, so no one cared, and they weren't banging drums and trying to shut me up. But Helen Joyce had people gathered outside. Students who wanted to see the talk had to be smuggled in because they were so scared of being seen by these protesters. This is not the right ethos for a university, is it?
No, this is awful. This is absolutely awful happening in a university. I remember years ago, I was trying to get into a talk with, just after post-Fatwa for Salman Rushdie, and we had to literally, be given just before mobile phones, secretly be taken in, and we were all scared. That's not a way. This should not be happening in a university.
No.
This is
so you
outrageous.
think we need this legislation and not a watered-down, weakened version of the legislation?
No, we need to keep our free speech. End of. That's it.
OK. That's it for part 3. So join us after the break for buffet bandits, Sigma males, and a very different kind of face mask. See you in just 2 minutes.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
The national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. for Gloria Meets. In exclusive interviews, I'll be finding out who our politicians really are and what they really think.
I think I've seen probably quite enough of Matt Hancock to last me a lifetime.
I'll also be getting to know you better, travelling to find out what you think about the politicians who are fighting for your vote.
They've got to get this country back on track.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. only on GB News, on TV, radio and online.
We are GB News, right across the nation. You can get us on television, on radio, on digital. We're absolutely everywhere.
Amazing. You see, amazing.
You remind me of me in the European Parliament. But here's the most important bit. We are not part of the mainstream establishment. We think and speak just like you do. We are the People's Channel.
Magnificent. That's really, really thoughtful.
Come and join us on GB News, the People's News Channel.
My name's Tom Harwood and join me 9:30 a.m. every weekday for The Briefing, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about what's going on in politics today. I wonder if this is a deal that might need to be like the biscuits in this factory, twice baked. Is there not an opportunity here to win out against the extremes?
Tom Harwood, GB News.
What are you going to do about it?
Things should have been done differently, and they certainly are being done differently.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, 9:30 Monday to Friday on GB News.
Welcome back to the final part of Headliners. We're taking you through Saturday's newspapers. Genius, legend, big dog. Nick's CV says all these things, but are you a Sigma male, Nick? And what does the Metro have to say about it?
Well, it's hard for me to answer, Andrew, because it says in the article you can't claim to be one, because it's such a great thing to be that you're being arrogant if you claim to be one. But I know this story is in because our producer thinks I am one, and that's why it's ended up in here.
What does it mean?
So the Sigma, Andrew, is like, it's an alpha male, but with some different qualities. So they're deeper thinking and more emotional. They're an extroverted introvert, and they like to be on their own, but they're also comfortable being outgoing and extroverted. You know, a bit like me on telly, even though I'm an introvert normally. They're prepared to carve their own path, me again, but they'll drop everything if someone they care about is in need. Like I talked to my friend last night trying to save her marriage. So very much me, but you're not allowed to say it to you. So it's a kind of new type of... The other one it says is it's very self-aggrandizing to define yourself in this way because you're almost saying you're perfect. It's like meeting someone and telling them what your IQ is.
Which you have done so.
I've done as well. Mine's 137, which is...
So Nick's a Sigma male. Are you an alpha female? What are you?
I'm not. I'm a Sigma female.
Sigma female?
And also an alpha. I'm also an alpha female. Yeah, I am very strong, and I actually know I'm very confident.
You've got to pick one.
You've got to pick one, do you?
I'm a confident
What would I be?
Sigma.
What would I be?
You're beta.
Beta.
You're a stigma.
I don't like this sort of ranking people by the Greek alphabet. I think it's very offensive.
Yeah, we could just use other words.
Omega. Yeah,
we could just use other words like confident and
I don't like it. I think it's terrible. Anyway, we're going to move on to the Daily Star now. And a trend that sees women using menstrual blood as part of their skincare regime. That's bound to leave a few people red in the face, isn't it?
Yes.
Here all week.
Well, I think women are reclaiming their wombs. That's what I think is happening in the face of all the trans... It's just a theory. It's just a theory. Yeah, it's just a theory. But menstrual masking is called...
menstrual masking.
Menstrual masking, right. It's a trend that's where women are applying period blood to their face and for a glowy complexion. Now, I'm all about, like recycling and it's a cost of living and everything. I draw a line under using bodily fluids, like drinking your own wee. You know what people who do that?
Yes.
No, you don't drink your own wee. That's waste product. Using vaginal discharge as a perfume or an aphrodisiac and a love potion.
That's been a recent thing. But isn't this taking us back? Because didn't the Victorians used to use drops of blood as a kind of rouge on their face to kind of make themselves look more glowing? So isn't it a similar kind of
No,
thing?
this is like, I think you put it on as a mask.
whole thing?
And it's like a mask and it's supposed to make your complexion glowing.
Have we not got products that do that?
We do, but it's a cost of living, so, maybe we should try using other things like this. I don't know. I mean, this
cost of living issue.
I don't want to sound like a misogynist or anything. I don't think this is
Well, you are, Andrew, because it says here...
If women are doing this, I'm going to support my sisters. If they're doing this and they think it's all right, that's fine.
Not many women are doing this.
Knock yourselves out, but I don't...
I would say most women are not, so you should maybe support those sisters.
Yeah,
no, Sajila's right, because it says here it's quite unfortunate that the patriarchy has brainwashed us with these disgusting beliefs about our menstruation. If you don't put menstrual blood on your face, Andrew, you are a patriarchal misogynist.
Are you saying I should do it?
Well, no. If you don't support
I've got a wonderful complexion.
I
don't need that sort of thing.
You probably shouldn't do it. That would be weird. But this is on TikTok, inevitably, first of all. Second point, it says more and more women have started to make use of their period blood. More and more single women. That's the bit they're missing there. Come on, it's gross.
But also, did you see the video? And that
no,
woman's putting
I chose
on,
not
and
to.
it does not look like that. It looks something. It's not blood. It's not blood.
That's not a video I'm going to watch.
I think.
Right, we're going to move on now to Saturday's Times. They say money doesn't grow on trees, but are they wrong? Well, let's ask our resident tree hugger, Nick Dixon.
Oh, yeah, but it does actually, Andrew. It's because it's a UK tree provides hundreds of pounds of benefits a year, report finds. So this is one of these funny articles where it's saying that trees, they capture climate heating CO2, reduce toxic air pollution and slow the flow of rainwater. It's one of these funny articles where modern people discover trees good, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's taken as experts for us to discover what people have known forever. But yes, there is an interesting part that you save money by having trees, and it reckons the value of non-woodland trees ranges from 1.4 to 3.8 billion a year, depending on the methodology used, because of all these things they do to do with CO2 and so on. So it's actually not only do trees look nice, but it's saying have these non-woodland little groups of trees in urban areas and so on, and it'll actually have financial benefits.
Trees are the lungs of the world.
Well,
yeah, I agree. Yeah. I love trees. I'm a fan of trees. In fact, I have decided I want to be buried with a tree going out of me, because you can be buried in a little fetal. It's going to cost a fortune. Maybe they do.
That sounds very Buddhist.
Yeah, and then you're sort of buried in a fetal position, and the tree grows out of you. And that's how I want to be buried. If anybody can do like a fundraiser.
But that's actually quite beautiful.
You want to crowdfund it?
Yes.
Crowdfunding. Could you do that? If that happens to me, can you...
Stick it on your Twitter, see how it does. Put it as a pin tweet. Crowdfunding my fetal tree burial.
Burial, yeah. Why can't I have that? Because
Sajila, you can have whatever you want. I am not here to judge.
No.
No, absolutely not. OK, I'm just going to be buried at sea, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting. Anyway, we're going to move on now to the Daily Mail. Can we charge for Christmas dinner?
This is
Scroogey, isn't it?
Yeah. So there's a woman here. My sister's asking everyone to pay £20 for Christmas dinner, and I don't know how to react.
Sorry, this is in the family.
This
20 quid for the Christmas dinner?
Yes, this is 20 quid for Christmas dinner. I don't think this is a terrible thing.
No?
I mean, this is an outraged sister who took to Mumsnet, where obviously desperate housewives reeking of Chardonnay and regret go to cry. So she's saying, what should I do? Don't think this is terrible. There's mixed reactions to this. Some are saying that this is this is really crass. And others are saying, well, actually, the cost of living, because it always goes back to the cost of living, doesn't it? Everything is justifiable by the cost of living.
Yeah, but it's a season of goodwill. I mean, it doesn't look good if you have your family Christmas lunch and then you give them a bill.
No, you can transfer with the money. But can I just say, having dinner parties, and I have them every year around Christmas, for about 6 people, it costs just over £100 just for me to set up So imagine if you're doing the Christmas trimmings, and as we know, that's going to be really expensive. So is it so unreasonable? I mean, we've been brought up never to go somewhere empty-handed. So when I go to my sister's, everybody comes along. We all bring something, so we all make something. Mm-hmm. So I think this is not far removed from that.
No. It is very different though. That's totally fine. You get someone else makes the trifle or dessert, or they bring drinks, whatever. That's very normal. Yeah, but that's the difference. So charging 20 quid, it's not a restaurant. Do you know what I mean? That's really weird. Where you to actually explicitly charge £20 is weird. Although I would pay £20 to avoid an argument with my brother about Trump, because that's every Christmas now.
Yeah, I just think it ruins the atmosphere, doesn't it? I mean, surely...
You don't ask for it at the meal, you just kind of ask them to,
Or just say don't give each other gifts that year or something. We'll put all the money into the Christmas dinner
or something. We're already doing Secret Santa. That's really annoyed me. Yeah, because nobody has to... Only one person and only the kids get the presents, and I'm really angry about that.
I just don't like this.
Well, next year Christmas will be banned, so enjoy it now,
guys. That's Nick's prediction. We'll see if that comes true next year. Finally, we're going to go to Saturday's Telegraph. Is it OK to steal items from a hotel buffet? I mean, I've been stealing bubble wrap from the GBNews stationery cupboard for months, so I guess we better ask Nick.
That's who it was. Well, yeah, this is a think piece, really, about whether you can nick the little, pan au chocolat or whatever from these buffets, and it's a grey area because you've sort of paid for it anyway if it's all inclusive. So I grew up in a restaurant which had a couple of rooms, so I don't condone, never steal from small restaurants or small hotels, but imagine you're in a budget chain hotel, Andrew, as you so frequently are, and you've paid for the buffet, and there's a load of croissants that aren't really being used. The question is, can you pocket one for lunch? And that's what they're asking here.
So the difference between scoffing your face then and there and there, because you can have as much as you want from the buffet, right? Or putting stuff in your pockets for later, which I suppose, yes, it is within the cost of what you paid for the room, but only if you eat it within that designated time period, right? Is that not the rubric?
I just remember that, I just remember I used to do, when I did gigs and all that, there was a nice woman who would keep those things. She'd offer them to us later. She'd have them sort of stored, you know, from the breakfast. She said, does anyone want this? Which is quite nice in a way. You've thought of other people. But is it theft? Not really, is it? If it's all-inclusive, not.
I didn't realise it was a theft thing. I never assumed it. I just thought...
What, if you take it for later?
No, I thought it was seconds, but I could eat the seconds later in my next shift, which would be like...
I think, if we don't have rules in society, we have anarchy. And I think you've got to say that breakfast is breakfast and lunch is lunch, and this food has been provided for your breakfast, not for your lunch. I mean, what else? I mean, you could take the whole lot and plan meals for months.
I eat breakfast later, so why can't I have a little bit now and then a little bit of that breakfast later?
That's just you violating all the social
rules,
all social norms. You'll be putting menstrual blood on your face next and having a tree
or
burial.
in my bread sandwich. Because
if people weren't watching the show, if they've just turned on, they won't know what on earth you're talking about then. That was a callback to an earlier thing.
But it sounded just like weird hate speech.
This is the worry.
He's obsessed with menstrual blood.
I think if you're going to go to a hotel, if you're going to pay for the breakfast and have the buffet, keep it as breakfast. That's my point of view. I don't want people stealing things like the soaps. That's not even theft, is it? That's definitely in
most of those breakfasts. If you're at like one of those travel lodges, the breakfast is pretty grim anyway, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah, I never take it from there.
I was at Move and Pick in Dubai. That's a 5-star restaurant. That's incredible. You pocket that.
Yeah, you pocket that, right?
But you're not going to pocket these
Stick
terrible
on the plane.
little chains.
The old...
Anyway, that's all we've got time for tonight. I've been Andrew Doyle. Thank you to my wonderful guests, Nick Dixon and Sajeela Kershi. We're going to see you, of course, tomorrow night at 11 o'clock and every night at 11 o'clock where we take you through the next day's newspapers. For Headliners, I hope you have a lovely weekend. See you tomorrow. Farewell.
I'm Mark Dolan. Join me at 11 on GB News for Headliners, in which I'll be joined by two of the UK's top comedians discussing tomorrow's papers. If it's an important story, we'll cover it, but we'll have some fun along the way. Headliners, the late-night paper review that won't send you to sleep like the others will. 7 nights a week at 11 p.m. on GB News.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
Hello, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and you can join me every weekday 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr. Me and my panel will get stuck right into the day's events, and I can tell you, in fact, I can warn you, expect some robust debates, some strong opinions and perspectives from both sides of the fence. It's about you at home as well. I love to read out all of your comments, or at least as many as I can. So join me, Michelle Dewberry, Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr.
I'm Mark White. As GB News Home and Security Editor, I cover those key issues that are so important to you. Our authorities, our communities doing all they can to combat violent crime. With the public services under unbearable strain, why are we still failing to control our borders? Defence, the first priority of any government, has been continually hollowed out. Can we trust our politicians to protect the armed forces? Join me, Mark White, on GB News.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch.
You've been cancelled. Join the club.
Oh my goodness me. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone.